Hello, everybody, and my name is Justin Alfaro. I'd like to talk to you about the topic about how the United States should give reparations to El Salvador. I'm sure you all have heard that El Salvador is now considered to be the most violent country within Central America. This is due to all the events that have occurred in the past involving the United States. The U.S. should give El Salvador reparations for these events. The main things that have actually contributed to the violence in El Salvador was the 12-year-long civil war, which had occurred between the years of 1980 and 1992, and the deportation of multiple known gang members back to El Salvador. These gang members increased the violence and also expanded by recruiting more people. It is also much easier for them to operate in El Salvador because there aren't as many strict laws and police officers, as well as the fact that the country is in a bad economic and societal state. The first main thing that I wanted to talk about was the reason of which the U.S. should give reparations to El Salvador. They should because of how much damage and death they have caused during the Civil War by beginning the School of the Americas and by teaching how to kill in that school. As Tom Gibbs has once said in the BBC News article, to defeat the rebels, the U.S. equipped and trained an army which kidnapped and disappeared 30,000 people. They carried out large-scale massacres of old people, women, and children. The U.S. had trained multiple civilians in military combat and weapon training for self-defense. But because of this, they ended up causing the deaths of many innocent people. Merchants were killed, fathers, mothers, children, farmers were brutally murdered. In many cases, young female teenagers and women were raped, then killed by those men. As John Santiago has said in the Huffington Post article, men were tortured and shot. Women were tortured and shot. Young women were taken up a hill, raped, and then shot. 146 children, ranging from the ages of 3 days to 14 years, were brutally murdered. The students of the School of the Americas weren't instructed on how to use the lessons they were taught for the right cause. They were only taught these lessons for the use of battle and not told that it should only be applied for self-defense. It was mainly used for murder in many cases. A lot of the murder was completely unnecessary from the looks of it. Eventually, it was found out that the Army's high command had ordered the murders, prompting a cut in the military aid, as Tom Gibb as well has said in the BBC News article. Not only was the idea of training civilians a failure, but the officials leading the operations were corrupt. Not only that, Monsignor Romero, the Archbishop of El Salvador, had written a letter to President Jimmy Carter begging him to stop funding the military schools in Central America, mainly because of the fact that it has been causing a large amount of damage. And another reason why the U.S. should give reparations to El Salvador is because of the fact that the large amount of gang violence is what has pushed El Salvador to become such a violent country. How is gang violence involved, you might ask? Well, in recent times, most of the recorded violence, deaths, rape, sexual assaults, any kind of violence, is due to gangs. Gangs have increased in numbers and have conducted more operations than they had before. As Jasmine Garst has said in the NPR article, in the 90s, the gang phenomenon in Los Angeles got more complicated. The U.S. started deporting gang members. Deportations brought airplanes full of gang members who had committed crimes and murders from the U.S. back to El Salvador. The gangs spoken about are mainly the MS-13 and the Barrio 18, two rival gangs. These gangs originated inside Los Angeles, California, mainly. Them being deported has caused them to expand and migrate to new areas to take control of those areas as well. In this case, the U.S. inadvertently actually aided in the growth of these gangs, which then caused more violence within the country. Now, some people might think that it's not the United States' fault that the gang members were deported because those people decided to immigrate into the U.S. in the first place. Actually, when you think about it, why did they have to immigrate at all? People mainly immigrated into the U.S. from El Salvador because of the Civil War, which the U.S. basically funded and was directly involved with. The war made the streets of El Salvador incredibly dangerous. And so because of all this danger, many people had to immigrate out of there. They wanted to find a better life. They wanted to become safer. So technically, if you notice, the U.S. has caused many of the problems that El Salvador has become victim to. The U.S. should take responsibility for the action by granting reparations to El Salvador at the very least, because of all the things that the U.S. has done within El Salvador during the war, and because of what it has done by sending gang members into an economically damaged country, which makes it more susceptible to societal and even more economical damage. Thank you.